Hey, Verballers, the future is coming. Why not make it brighter with Squarespace? Squarespace makes it easy to turn your idea into a unique website, showcase your work, your blog, publish content, even sell products and services of all kinds in just a few clicks. You can customize everything from look to feel to settings and products. Use beautiful templates created by world-class designers to do it. And there's never anything to install. You don't have to patch or upgrade anything ever. Head on out to squarespace.com for a free trial today. And when you're finally ready to launch, use the offer code SOLID to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal Boys and Girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrand. Joining me again, he came back, Dan Rubenstein. Sir!
Can't get enough, Ty.
How's it going?
You know, it's pretty good, Ty. That's a lie. I was in Los Angeles, and it was nice and warm and sunny, and I was hanging out in Santa Monica and Venice and just eating great Mexican food and living my best life, and now I'm back in New York and in a room. Ty, if you could see my setup.
Yeah, first question here of this Q&A show.
Yeah, I just moved.
I know that you moved. You talked about it on one of our previous shows that you moved.
Right.
What is your new recording setup now?
So Jody with an I and I moved to just like down the block. It's still in Brooklyn, but as we speak right now, most of our apartment is all set and ready to go. We need to roll out. I think we're getting a couple rugs cleaned because you got to have sort of soft floors in New York so people aren't stomping around all over the place. But my current setup in this tiny little room we have, I have just crap everywhere. I have a bag of shoes, a guitar case, a box full of paper towels. I am speaking directly into a coat closet, like I'm standing 2 feet in front. There's a tiny bookshelf, and on top of that, a laundry hamper, and on top of that, a towel, so at least deadens some of the sound as I speak into my microphone, which is next to my laptop. So it is a DIY garbage setup. I mean, literally, there is garbage. I am surrounded by garbage. And hopefully the show is slightly better than being surrounded by garbage, because we're doing Q&A today?
Q&A today, yeah.
Yes, bonus! So I on, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and I guess via email, ask people to ask questions about spring football, season hypotheticals, college football TV issues, reasonable expectations, unreasonable expectations, and literally whatever else. And we got a ton of really, really strong questions, Ty.
We did, absolutely. So again, if you are new to the show, we've been trying to tell as many folks as we can this offseason about what we're doing here, bring as many under the tent as humanly possible. We are the Solid Verbal. I'm Ty. He's Dan. You can find us at solidverbal.com. We're also out there on Twitter. We are out there on Facebook and Instagram. We do have a website at solidverbal.com. We are findable wherever fine podcasts are sold, be it iTunes or Google or Stitcher, Spotify, you name it. We are out there. We've even got a subreddit at reddit.com/r/solidverbal, where our fans have congregated all throughout the last year or so to talk about what we talk about here on the program and what we like to do once a month. I guess this month we're technically doing it one.
We'll do it as often as we want, Ty. Who cares?
It is our show, but we like to take questions from the Verballerhood, read them aloud, and try to provide insight wherever possible. Sometimes that insight is better than others. My sense is that we're both shot out of a cannon today.
I'm ready to go.
I hear it in your voice that we're shot out of a cannon here, and I'm feeling the same. So should we get to our first question?
I think we should get to our first question.
Okay, where are we going?
Let's go with John. Lots of people talk about which fan base has the most unrealistic expectations. The Nebraska Cornhuskers. I'm excited to see Nebraska, but nobody ever discusses. That was my editorialization.
Okay. Right.
Nobody discusses reasonable fan bases. From your experience, which fan base has the most reasonable expectation and healthiest relationship with their team? And as I'm reading this question, I can only think about the time when I was at SI, and I guess you were at SI at this time as well, when I was invited to the SI swimsuit party in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Ty. My expectations were very reasonable. I went to that party, and my expectation was, I'm gonna get a good drink or two. I'm gonna dance a little bit, and I'm gonna take pictures with West Coast with camera guy Dave, who I brought along with me, and watch a Rash Markazi dance. That was my expectation, and it all came true.
Does it feel to you that the only true correct answer, the one true champion of this question, has sort of always been Illinois football?
Oh, I don't know about that.
It's always been Illinois football.
Well, yes. I'm going to posit this as reasonable expectations of being acceptable.
Acceptable, okay.
Because I think there is an element of, Chicago's not a high school football hotbed, but Illinois has, I wouldn't say recent or modern history of success, but they should be able to recruit better. And I've been paying a little bit of attention to recruiting thus far because of our pal Scott, Illini fan Scott. I think they just got a 5-star athlete out of St. Louis who might play quarterback. And so they're doing a little bit better. They got a big kid out of Texas.
My point is, I remember we talked to Robert from Illini.com. We talked to our friend Will Leach. Mm-hmm. Certainly we've talked to Illini fan Scott. Like, they all seem to have a very healthy relationship with the team. They want the team to do well, but if it doesn't, they almost have a license to go out and explore other teams. It's a very open relationship with their college football team.
Yeah, I would flip it and tweak it a little bit. Like, I don't think Illinois fans have any expectations.
Exactly. Thank you.
So let's move to who has an acceptable level of positive expectations. And for that path, I would say people who have the most data about their coach. So people who have experience with a longer tenured coach. And so the check marks I have are Northwestern, Stanford, Iowa, Kansas State, and Navy. In terms of bigger programs who, maybe Georgia Tech, but it's so up and down with Georgia Tech. And I think there's a certain amount of frustration given what Georgia Tech's ceiling should be given its location, and you can attract academically really good kids, perhaps, that are otherwise going to places like Duke or Stanford or Notre Dame or Vanderbilt, whatever. I think that list is where I'm probably going to stop.
Okay.
TCU, maybe. I think there's an expectation of flirting with
I considered
10 wins.
TCU. I think everyone in the SEC is out.
Yes. Correct.
Everyone in the SEC is out.
Maybe other than Vandy. I think there's not much in terms of expectations there.
There are fan bases that have tasted success. And when they do, they tend to lust for more. Yeah. And that's true in nearly every case, right? What we're trying to find here are examples of the few fan bases that don't seem to get out of hand. And I do think the coaching element factors in. One that you forgot is Michigan State. I think Michigan State probably falls into that category too, but Northwestern, Stanford, Navy, you said Iowa. I had K-State down on my list as well. These are teams that, by and large, are very confident in the coach that they have and have seen their coaches spin gold out of what was deemed by others to not be the deepest of talent pools. And so that earns them a lot of credibility. That earns them a longer leash. And I think in most cases, it leads to fan bases that aren't prone to unreasonable expectations.
Yeah, I think all of those coaches, I think the common thread with Pat Fitzgerald, David Shaw, Kirk Ferentz, Bill Snyder, Ken Niumatalolo, is that the fan bases have made peace with who they are, which are all good coaches, and that they will win more games that they should, or many more games that they should, than otherwise. And that's a pretty good place. If not, you can get bored, and maybe we'll talk about this with USC, and I have a comparison for Clay Helton's being nothing but successful, but there is that boredom element, but I don't think there is that expectation of blue blood for any of those schools. So I think they're in good places.
Okay, good answer. Good question. Thank you, John. Where are we going next?
Let's go. This is a question from Reddit from Rockleg.
Rockleg.
Whatever Rockleg is. Which cellar dweller Power 5 program is least deserving of a meteoric rise to the top of the conference? And as a bonus, which long-suffering fan base is least deserving of playoff glory? Ooh. So man, that's tough. But I can answer the first one, which I imagine you can as well. And I'm going to answer this in terms of a faction, because it's hard to paint, even though that's, the fun part of being fun about college football, but it's hard to paint a fan base as a complete homogenistic whatever society that everybody's the same. But I would say if there's any faction of a fan base that has traditionally been pretty low, although they've been a little bit higher lately, but traditionally been low and would be very happy to see them miserable forever, would be that Art Briles shirt selling and buying faction of the Baylor fan base. When everything was going down, I'd be happy if Baylor was firmly entrenched, not because of reasonable, nice, kind, supportive, pragmatic Baylor fans, but if there's any faction of a fan base that would make me happy to see them miserable forever, it'd probably be that group of Baylor fans and maybe some Joe Pa truthers in Penn State.
I was going to bring up the Joe Pa truthers. I think there's definitely something there. I'm not going to directly answer this question from Rockleg. Did you say Rockleg?
WBZR Rockleg.
Yeah, he did pose a bonus question: which long-suffering fan base is least deserving of playoff glory?
Yeah,
I'm a Notre Dame fan.
I like where you're going.
It's well known on this program and throughout the interwebs that I am a college football fan for the University of Notre Dame, in addition to Penn State, my alma mater. But by and large, I've been a Notre Dame fan my entire life. You can make a really strong case here that the Notre Dame fan base, the holier-than-thou sort of entitled section of the Notre Dame fan base, is qualified to be the answer here.
The good news is so many of them don't have the internet. So their reaction.
I'm not saying all. I'm not saying me. I'm not saying most of the people that I have the good fortune of dealing with. Most people, I think, have their head in the right place. But there is a very, very small minority of the Notre Dame fan base that fits that mold. A little holier than thou, a little entitled. And I think it is that group that gives Notre Dame fans as a whole a bad name.
Non-football, which I think this is a phenomenal question, Ty. This goes to the heart of who we are truly as people. Which of your friends' hobbies are you awful at? If Dan goes to hang out at someone's place and gets handed a controller to play Madden, can he hold his own? First of all, the answer is yes. I am totally decent and acceptable, if not pretty good sometimes, at football video games. Mainly NCAA, but certainly Madden.
Have you, by the way, have you tried the latest Madden?
No.
It's impossible.
Is it really?
Oh, maybe awful. Then I used to be so good at the previous renditions of Madden and NCAA.
What makes it so much harder?
It's just different. I don't know. There are various controls now to like jump up and catch the ball. It seems like you can't run the 10-yard out route every time anymore and get a first down like without even trying. They've just made everything smarter, and after years away from playing the game, I decided I'd pick it up when it was on sale. And let me tell you, not good. Not good.
So here's where I'm currently at video game wise before I answer this question. There has not been an NCAA release in 5 years, 4 years, something like that. I think the last one was NCAA 14, which would have come out in 2013, right?
Yep.
Summer of 2013. So it's almost going on 5 years. I am at the point where I have interest in video games, but I don't want to shoot people, and I don't want to learn advanced football controls for Madden, and I don't really care about the NFL that much. And I'm eyeballing a Nintendo Switch and playing Mario with the rest of my days like I never have. That's super attractive to me.
I have both the Switch and the PS4.
Is that true?
It is true.
How's the Switch?
The Switch is fantastic.
What do you play?
I'm mostly into Mario Kart. I've played a little bit of the Zelda game, which is pretty cool. Solid White Kate got into the Zelda game.
Are you playing it on the screen or are you playing it handheld?
Mostly on the screen.
Okay.
Mostly on the screen, but Mario Kart still brings it. It's still my favorite game by far in the Nintendo universe.
Interesting.
And as far as PS4 goes, I have dabbled with a couple of the sports games that are out there. The best one remains the soccer game, FIFA.
Yeah, but that's you have to put in some time, right?
Yeah, I'm awful at it.
Yeah.
I'm awful at it. And so I've resorted to playing on a lower difficulty, beating teams by 8 goals, and just enjoying myself.
My broader answer to this question, 1, golf. I'm not awful at golf. I'm awful at wanting to play golf. I grew up playing. I went to, I learned how to play. Like, I love going to driving ranges. I've never been to, is it called Top Golf?
Top Golf. That's a good time. Yeah.
Have you been? You've been? I've never been.
Yeah.
It looks like a great time because it looks like you just hit a bunch of golf balls and drink beer and eat tater tots.
Yep.
That's my zone.
That's pretty much it.
That is my zone. I would love to do that. I'm totally fine at golf. I mean, I'd probably shoot 100 or something like that, but I wouldn't look like a spaz. I just don't want to dedicate 4.5 hours. Like that to me is sort of miserable. I'd rather just play sports, I'd rather go for a run or play basketball. I've only gone paintballing once, and I'd probably be really bad at that. And my final answer, drinking.
Okay.
Not a great drinker, Ty. And I guess cocaine. I don't know if any of my friends are cokeheads, but since I have never partaken, I'd be pretty bad at cocaine.
Okay. I think that seems
that's my
fair.
answer.
Yeah, I'm pretty awful at actually your hobby, which is going out and trying different kinds of foods.
Oh, come on. It's the easiest and most fun thing.
It is, but I'm just not
You're set in your ways.
Not that into it. Yeah, I'm set in my ways. So much like you, the idea of golf, the idea of dedicating time to whatever, I kind of feel the same way about different kinds of foods.
I am going again to Mexico City in a couple months, and my day is this. Wake up, maybe work out. It's sort of like Coors Field because it's like 7,000 feet up, so got to be careful, not exert myself too much, and just walk and eat all day.
Okay.
And it is the greatest, Ty. We got to get you down to Mexico City and get you some non-potatoes.
Do our live show down in Mexico.
Oh my God, at Azteca,
Yeah,
right
of
before
course.
the Lehigh Colgate game.
Of course. Okay.
Next question. Let's go to, here's a good one. Duck caught upstream. This is also from Reddit. Two good questions. After a down year last year, how many Pac-12 teams do you think are good enough to be in realistic contention for a college football playoff spot when November rolls around? The most accurate answer I could come up with was like a half. A half of a team. I don't know what your answer is, but I'm going to run through some pertinent information to hopefully help your answer.
Well, I mean, the first answer is Arizona State, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely ASU.
Look, nobody in the South.
Yeah, I don't think that's fully true. The USC schedule is pretty good.
With a new quarterback?
See, that's the thing. So they have, it's Matt Fink, Jack Sears, and JT Daniels is incoming. So they don't have that blue chip, known quantity quarterback like they had last year with sort of a screwy schedule. But USC's defense, especially their secondary, is in pretty good shape. The linebacking core is pretty good. I know they lose Rasheem Green and Nwosu on the line, so there's some rebuilding there. But offensive skill wise, I like Tyler Vaughn's. The offensive line is somewhat intact. Stephen Carr should step into a pretty big role in the backfield. Schedule wise, it's pretty good. So they're at Stanford and at Texas early on consecutively, and that's tough. But Stanford is outside of Bryce Love. I'm not sure what really truly scares me about Stanford this year. Texas, we'll see what their offense looks like. Defensively, they're in great shape. But, USC is coming off of a win there. They go to Utah, but they have Notre Dame at home after the UCLA game and miss Oregon and Washington from the North. So all things considered, I'd say that's pretty solid, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, the schedule's fine. You lose Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
It's tough to be what I would answer here, a legitimate playoff threat.
But they maintain their coaching staff, which I think is pretty enormous. T. Martin is back after some flirtation, I guess. So I'm pretty good with USC just in terms of what their actual season looks like. Quickly, Stanford's schedule is super tough. They're at Oregon, at Notre Dame, at Utah consecutively.
Ooh, that's brutal.
And then, at Utah is consecutive with Wazoo, excuse me. But Washington is on the road at UCLA to end the season. And that's after going to Cal for a rivalry game. So that's sort of a screwy way to end things. Oregon has a non-conference Oregon's non-conference schedule is garbage.
Important clarification.
They don't have USC, as mentioned. They have Stanford, Washington, UCLA all at home with Washington after a bye. So Oregon is a good contender for, and I've mentioned this before, schedules better than they actually are. But if Justin Herbert is able to stay healthy, they should be able to take another step forward on defense. Washington opens the season in Atlanta against Auburn. They go to Utah, to UCLA, and UCLA and Oregon are on the road consecutively, and they have no bye week until November 10th, and a short week rivalry game on a Friday on the road at Wazoo, which obviously Chris Peterson owns Mike Leach, but we saw it last year when you have that short week road game with USC going to Wazoo, ended up being pretty brutal for the Trojans. So,
man,
schedule seems fine because Washington misses USC. Arizona.
My answer was going to be either Washington or Stanford.
Yeah, I would put my money on Washington. Even with the losses up front on defense, they still have Greg Gaines. That secondary should be filthy. I love Taylor Rapp.
I think the answer is Washington and or Stanford. So the question, what? Legitimate playoff teams, realistically good enough to be in the college football playoff come November?
I'd say 1.5 is probably my up.
1.5, I think, is a good line. I'll go with 1.5.
Should also mention, just because Arizona has the best quarterback in the South in Khalil Tate, they go to Houston in the non-conference schedule, and they do have that dreaded Pac-12 short week road game at Utah. Altitude. Yikes. I'm almost, in the way that we last season said, USC short week at Wazoo on a Friday night, shout out Adam Amin. Circle that game as like the biggest trip up.
Totally.
I would, if Arizona is good under Kevin Sumlin this year, I would circle that Utah game on the road, the short week. That's rough.
Definitely. All right. Good question. But yeah, let's go 1.5 Washington and Stanford as our official answer here, the verbal. Dan, before we go next question.
Yes.
Let's talk about our sponsors here. Sponsored by two friends of the podcast. First and foremost, Squarespace. You know about Squarespace.
All about it.
Ready to start your new business, ready to make a new website, make it stand out. You can do it with Squarespace. As we said at the very top of the show, they give you beautiful templates created by world-class designers. They make it easy to turn your idea into a new and unique website, showcase your work, your blog, publish all your content, sell your products and services of all kinds. It all takes just a few simple clicks, and you can customize everything. So from the look to the feel to the settings to the products, everything is optimized for mobile right out of the box. They've got analytics. They take care of all the installs and upgrades and patches. And if you ever have any questions, you can call their 24/7 customer support. It's all there. All you need to do is head on out to squarespace.com today. Launch your free trial. When you're ready to go, use the offer code SOLID, SOLID, and you'll save 10% off your very first purchase of a website or domain. That, again, is our friends over at squarespace.com. Also, support for today's show comes from our friends over at Proper Cloth, Dan. Been talking a lot lately about, I don't know, just how good it feels to have a custom fit shirt. Proper Cloth makes that easy. All right? Something's always off, be it the collar or the sleeves. Ordering a custom fit shirt has never been easier with Proper Cloth. You go to propercloth.com. You create your custom size in mere seconds by answering 10 questions. You've done it, right? It's easy. It's quick.
Oh, my God. So easy, so quick, and so worth it.
The team over at Proper Cloth, they work with the best fabric producers from around the world. They only buy fabrics that meet their high-quality expectations. Best of all, they guarantee a perfect fit. So if you go through it, if somehow it doesn't fit, whatever, they will remake it for free. Absolutely, positively, the very future of shirts that you and I have been talking about in this program for 10 years, Dan. We've always been talking about the future of shirts.
I'm a torso guy, Ty.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking to best wrap my torso. So I'm all in on Proper Cloth. And Ty, I have a wedding I think the next wedding I'm attending is in like 3 months, in June.
Yeah.
The best man, I heard this morning, this is breaking news, boop, 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 is a minor celebrity.
Whoa.
And I am very excited to try to match shirt for shirt with said minor celebrity.
You got to tell me after the show who we're talking about here.
Oh, I absolutely will.
Again, these shirts are made completely custom for you. They start at just $80. Go to propercloth.com/solid today. Enter the gift code SOLID to save $20 off your very first shirt. Stop wearing shirts that don't fit. Start looking your best with a custom fitted shirt from our friends over at Proper Clough. Daniel, where are we going
good
next?
Dramatic pause.
Where are we going next? Thank you.
Let's go to Dan, who has a good college football TV question. Dan Klobuchar, that's right.
Yeah.
With so many games being broadcast, across so many channels, conference networks, whatever, it really seems like there is a shortage of quality announcing teams. I don't know if I agree with that, but whatever.
Okay.
What kind of gimmick color commentator would you like to see? Comedian, actor, dog?
Dog. The dog would be interesting. I'll give him that.
None of the above. Okay, so I have both a serious and
so do I. I have very good
indulgent answer.
Absolutely.
Indulging, not for us, but indulgent for his question. So the serious answer is it's sort of disrespectful to put a dog on a game to the two fan bases who are watching this game and care about, if ESPNU has Wake, Syracuse, or USF Temple or something like that, and it's, I don't know, if it's our pal Adam Amin with a German Shepherd, that's not great. That means we don't take your game and your efforts and the history of your fandom all that seriously.
I mean, it depends on the dog. Right?
That's true. There are a lot of good dogs.
There are a lot of good dogs, and the Animal Act typically on broadcast television, broadcast anything, has really been a success. So I don't know if that's entirely true, but I do hear your point.
Correct. I would say that if you are looking to shake things up and draw attention to a Big Ten spillover game on the Big Ten network, on Big Ten 2 or something like that, or draw attention to, I think Stadium is now a thing.
Yeah,
the Stadium network, which I think broadcasts game on Facebook. So always probably looking for, I think gimmick is too.
You're going to steal my answer here, aren't you?
I don't think I am.
You're going to steal my answer. I know it. I can feel it.
I will. You know what, Ty? I will give you your platform right now.
You're going to steal my damn answer.
Say it.
I don't think the answer to this question is a gimmick commentator.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a comedian, an actor, a dog.
Right.
A feline. I don't think it's any kind of gimmick announcer.
You should just keep naming types of I don't think it's a cephalopod. I don't think it's a mollusk.
I think it's more a matter of format than it is the actual commentator. Like, remember when they did the coach's film room during the national championship? If they could find a way to make that a little bit more digestible, maybe not have five guys in a room yelling out terms that most of the population doesn't understand. If they could refine that a little bit, a format like that will be rather interesting. Sort of what Adam Amin did on the night of the national championship.
The Homer's broadcast.
Homer's broadcast, where he was walking around on the sidelines and they had guys on either side. He was doing that with Joe Tess. That stuff was, I thought, pretty interesting and is enough to shake it up where even if you're not fully into a game, you might tune in just to see what the format is all about. I think that's the answer here.
I like the idea, and I think you're on the right track. That wasn't my answer, so I'm glad. So part of my answer would be radio feed, but like a lot of these networks have spillover channels. So like if it's Purdue, Nebraska on the Big Ten network and Big Ten has spillover, maybe you have that familiar voice. Some people, I grew up a Dodger fan, and there were a lot of people when it was a Vin Scully game on the radio, but not on TV, would mute the TV and turn on the radio. So perhaps marrying that. My other answer is, what about bringing in notable NBA broadcasters or college basketball or baseball or just like Bill Raftery? I like Bill Raftery. If, let's say, Kyler Murray throws a bomb that's ridiculous after shedding 2 tackles and Bill Raftery is yelling onions, I'm pretty excited.
I mean, they sort of did that a little bit with Gus Johnson.
Right. And it works to varying degrees and it depends on the person, but it's not terribly hard to prep. You learn names, you learn backstories, you learn history, whatever, of these teams, of the season, whatever. But I think there are voices out there.
Oh, you know what we're missing? We're missing the obvious.
Who?
Us.
Well, obviously. We have to start with Pat League. Get at us, Pat League.
We could do something like that.
That would be my answer. Or like Pat Sajak. He's pretty good. He's pretty smooth. He likes sports.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my answer. Not a dog, but a mollusk.
A cute dog. Cute dog would work, but okay.
Next question. Robbie wants to know, USC goes 10-2 and loses the title game to Washington. Let's assume they go to the Rose Bowl and lose. In his 3 years there are 3 top 15 finishes, a conference win, a division win, a Rose Bowl win, and 3 New Year's Six game appearances. Is Clay Helton still on the hot seat? So I believe, if I'm understanding this question correctly, Robbie wants to know, is there in perpetuity USC fan acceptance of really good but not great?
Clay Helton's perpetually hot seat is
Right.
what I think we're talking about here. Potential Fantasy Things draft pick
Absolutely.
in our upcoming Fantasy Things draft at an undetermined location at this point, about
Correct.
August time frame. Stay tuned for our next live show if you're interested. The perpetual hotness of the Clay Helton seat is of interest to me, and I don't think it's fair to him. Clay Helton stepped into that role at USC after a long list of other coaches, higher profile guys who didn't work out for one reason or another. You had the Kiffin thing, the Sarkisian thing. Like, it just didn't work out for a lot of folks. You had Coach O there for a little bit, lobbying to get that role. Clay Helton almost stepped into a situation where this was always going to be the case. So the answer of will he versus should he is important here. I don't think he should if, again, in 3 years, there are 3 top 15 finishes. But I do think that, back to our earlier question at the top of the show, expectations at a blue blood school like USC are already so high, and the talent pool is already so deep, that if they don't get over that hump, if they don't become anything more than just a top 15 team at the end of each season, eventually, he's going to get let go. Eventually, the hot seat is going to overtake him. I think he will remain on the hot seat if he can't get over that hump.
On the national stage, USC looked sensational on offense against Penn State in an all-time fun, ridiculous, rewatchable game. Yes?
Absolutely, for sure.
Yes. Then they completely look lost and overmatched against Ohio State in the bowl game last year. And, obviously in a very, very early game, just get drilled, demolished, and squashed by Alabama on a neutral site. So USC measures itself, and I say that as a fan base and a school, whatever, against the country's best because they're able to attract the best. They have a history that aligns with the best of the best nationally, and even a recent history in the Pete Carroll era that aligns with them. But could there be an element, and I have his stats in front of me, and this is so early on because he was at his place for 15 years. Mark Richt.
Right.
Good. Consistently. Forever. But it just got to the point where people in charge, fans, said, can't we be a little more? Can't we be significantly more than good? And Mark Richt, in his 15 years at Georgia, 9 out of those 15 years, he won 10 plus games. That's significant. He went to 3 Sugar Bowls in 15 years, so that's not the greatest, and had 6 shares of the East, at least, either outright wins of the division or a share of the division. But at a certain 15 years is a long time.
No.
But if Clay Helton is on that sort of pace, like he goes 5 out of 8 years, 10 plus wins, 6 out of 8, 10 plus wins, but never gets over the hump of winning the Rose Bowl or just never does anything in the playoff, I think there will be an element at USC that says we need a little more seasoning on this roast. We just need a little bit more. And I think it's not imminent, but Clay Helton, I don't think inspires the same amount of program facedness as Pete Carroll. And that is always going to be in the back of people's minds. I believe that if he maxes out at winning or losing the Rose Bowl, it's going to grow tiresome, but not anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. And like I said, eventually he will be overcome by the hotness of the seat. But you do bring up a really important point, and it's one that we mentioned, I want to say 6 or 8 months ago when we were talking about USC and Clay Helton back in 2017, Dan. Mm-hmm. Clay Helton walked into an airport. How many people do you think would recognize him?
How many people would recognize Clay Helton at a Hudson News? The answer is 0. Maybe in LA, a couple.
Yeah, I think that factors in as well. He doesn't have that gravitas of, Pete Carroll, someone who's been there before, had a lot of success, someone who's recognizable. Yeah.
But here's the thing. If he's recruiting on a top 3 to 5 level, he should have top 3 to 5 results. And that means within the next 3 years, he has to win at least a playoff game, right?
I would think. I think that's fair.
So that's where I come down with Clay Helton, who has done a fantastic job, taking over a program that was in crazy flux, recruited super well, developed quarterbacks, has hired really well. He has done everything that USC could possibly hope for, short of top 2 to 3 results. And that's really good.
Agreed.
Next question on the opposite end of things from Matt. Given the way both Virginia football and basketball, womp womp, ended their 2017-18 seasons, losing against teams from Maryland, is there any hope Bronco can turn things around in Charlottesville? Yes, I am still bitter.
Okay, hold on. Virginia last went to a bowl in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
They went to a bowl. They lost the Military Bowl a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
But still went to a bowl game for the first time in 6 years. Now, UVA might not be on the precipice of winning the ACC, going to, a playoff game. But clearly, the results have been there in year 2 that I think if you're a fan of the team, you have reason for optimism. It's obviously a much different situation than what we saw with UVA basketball, losing to a 16 seed. But I feel pretty good about where Bronco Mendenhall's gotten them in just 2 years.
Do we follow a time sport, though?
A time sport? What do you mean?
In saying that you got to give him time. It's not necessarily a sport that's rooted in time.
No, it isn't, but not all programs are created equally. If you step into a job at, let's go back to USC, you are inherently at much more of an advantage than you would be at a program like UVA, which again, hadn't been to a bowl game in 6 full seasons.
Right. Here's why I'm sort of down on Virginia. If I gave you an over-under of 1.5 blue chip players recruited or committed to Virginia in the last 3 years, what are you taking?
Under.
Yeah, it's 0. They have not gotten a blue chip commitment in the last 3 seasons. So in the Bronco Mendenhall era. And that to me is worrisome. Not because you need blue chip players to win 8 games a year. You need a lot of factors to win 8+ games a year in a Power 5 conference. And I think the expectation for Virginia should be bowl games. And they went to a bowl last year. The problem with Virginia, as I see it, as somebody who has watched not a lot of Virginia games, but some Virginia games, is probably going to end up year over year, if they're not able to attract higher level talent, it's going to be depth. What did we see from Virginia last year? They finished the season losing 4 straight ACC games after starting, 3-1?
Right.
They lose 4 straight. What do they do against Miami? They look sensational in the first half and can't quite close it out. That, to me, is the problem with Virginia, that they're going to win games early on. They're going to beat teams that they are more talented than, but their ceiling, when you're not able to attract a slightly higher level of talent, is they're going to max out at 6 or 7 games every year. Right. And that's max, everything coming together really, really well. They had this awesome game against Boise last year to get them bowl eligible, right? Correct. So they win that game early on, and that seems to be a huge difference maker. That's why I'm not, at the moment, because of how down that offense looked most of the year last year. And the defense was fine. It was a top 40 or 50 defense. That's why I can't, and this year I think they miss Clemson and Florida State, which is wonderful for them. But there's nothing to me that says Virginia is probably going to hit their ceiling as a program with a kind of down Pitt, a so-so Duke, a super down North Carolina right now, a promising Virginia Tech, and a promising Miami in that division. Virginia has to be a little bit disappointed that they are not taking advantage better right now.
Okay.
That's where I stand.
Fair enough.
The talent needs to be in a higher place to me. Ray wants to know, let's say in the ACC, Ty, what are your thoughts on Florida State's upcoming season? What do you think Willie Taggart's expectations are for his team? Go Noles. I'm not familiar with who that is.
Yeah. I like Willie Taggart at Florida State. That's my broad answer. I think he fits in there. He obviously knows the landscape. It was talked about in circles long before Jimbo Fisher actually left that if he did, Willie Taggart would be the place that Florida State went first. Mm-hmm. So I think bringing him aboard makes a lot of sense. I think he will succeed there, if not immediately, certainly in the very, very near future. Florida State's got a lot of talent. I would expect that their offense is going to run through Cam Akers this coming season. The conference as a whole is always sort of a little bit of wait and see. I think Florida State is still very much in that top tier. And without having their schedule in front of me, it's tough to sort of gauge where that's going to go. But I wouldn't expect there to be much of a drop-off just because Willie Taggart's stepping in.
I think it's a very good time for a reboot for Florida State.
Yeah,
Jimbo
exactly.
Fisher always ran a pretty complicated offense that put a lot on the quarterback in terms of adjustments and audibles and different protections, whatever. And the big thing that Willie Taggart has been preached at his introductory press conference was lethal simplicity. That they are going, it'll be a much smaller playbook. It will get the ball to playmakers and speed. All of your talking points at an introductory press conference, whatever. But having watched a Willie Taggart offense for a season, Ty, not many seasons, just one short season, I can tell you that it will be an offense that is going to look much more fun and accessible than the last couple of years of Florida State. We'll see at quarterback. They're going to run the quarterback more, which is both good and bad with Deandre Francois coming off the injury, or whoever ends up starting for Florida State. It seems that job is wide open, so it could be Blackman as well. That will be a new responsibility for quarterbacks. I think the defense will be in a good place, and I do have the schedule in front of me. They open against Virginia Tech on that Labor Day Monday night game.
Okay.
Which should be difficult.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
should be that Virginia Tech defense, even with losing probably their two best players at least. That should be difficult. But beyond that, I know Northern Illinois had a nice offense, but they should that's a rematch, right? The Florida State Northern Illinois game. Louisville's defense should be manageable to play against, I assume, but it should be improved from where it was last year. The Miami defense should be tough. They get Clemson at home. And they go to Notre Dame, and it's a pretty good year, I would say. And we don't really know what Notre Dame's going to look like in mid-November. But in terms of where Notre Dame has been strong these past couple of years at offensive line, it'll be a step back without McGlinchey and Nelson. We don't know. We're not all that confident in quarterback for Notre Dame in March. And they're working in a new defensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens there. We know what Notre Dame looks like with a really good coordinated defense, and we know what it looks like with sort of a shoddy mess of a coordinated defense in the last, 2 years?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, yeah, we know well. No, quite well.
And we don't know anything about what Florida will actually look like, but that game is at home. So Florida State should win 9 games.
Okay.
I don't think it's unreasonable to say that they should win 9 games with the talent they have on both sides of the ball. They lose their best defensive player in Derwin James, but I am confident that this staff will energize this Florida State team in ways that have been lacking these past couple of years. Any tips? I like this. This comes to us from Jesse with an I. Not Jody with an I, but Jesse with an I. Any tips on traveling to a big game on a small budget?
Ooh.
Traveling to a big game on a small budget. I don't know how old this person is, and that would affect my answer about willingness to sleep on couches and, get a hotel room with 4 other people.
I think as far as food goes, at least on game day, you can almost always find a tailgate with food.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
You can definitely find somewhere to eat. Be friendly, go up, try to introduce yourself. You can definitely find a tailgate that you can get some free food from. So that, I think, is a given. To your point, as far as lodging goes, I would suggest that if you are on a really small budget, that you stay a couple hours out of town and drive in on game day, because
depends what time the game is, but yeah.
Depends what time the game is, depends on a lot of factors, but if you can drive in and stay out of town, that'll keep the hotel bill down.
Fair. Yeah, I would say get really good at buying scalp tickets. Maybe wait until the first quarter starts. I don't know. That's when generally ticket prices will come down. I think definitely staying, I don't think you have to do 2 hours, maybe 45 minutes, an hour outside of town. Don't be afraid to maybe bring a couple sleeping bags if you're driving to the game. So you get 4 people in a 2-bed or a 1-bed hotel room. I'm trying to think of anything else, Ty. Or you could watch the game at a tailgate.
You could watch the game at a tailgate.
That's not nearly as fun, but if tickets are crazy, if you're going to like LSU, Bama, or you're going to some crazy expensive game, USC, UCLA, actually that's not that expensive to get in. If you can become friends with a mega tailgate that has a bunch of screens and smokers going, that can be fun.
All right,
It'd be
Dan.
super fun.
Hey,
But
here's-
if you're going to travel, you don't want to watch it at tailgate.
Here's one from Dakota.
Yeah.
If you were a new head football coach, what would be your go-to response when reporters asked you how spring ball was going? Answers could include, quote, we're taking it day by day. Quote, looking forward to getting 1% better. Or the more literal, quote, this team sucks and they're damn glad I'm here to fix it. You have any answers, Dan?
My answer would be similar, but not as cliched. I would say something along the lines of like, I barely know these people. I don't know how I can give you any sort of expectation of what to expect based on spring ball because coaches meet with players. They have such limited amounts of time during the spring before spring ball that they're literally just learning about their players during spring ball. And that if you're a new coach, you don't know what this receiver is good at. You don't know what this safety does. You don't know the work habits of this left guard, whatever. And you're learning about your new staff because almost without exception, a new head coach is bringing in not spare parts, but parts from different parts of the country and backgrounds and everything like that. So you're really it's a learning process.
What if, Dan? What if you instantly went on offense? What if you said,
yeah,
it's going pretty well. It's definitely going better than our friends over at State.
Well, then you're increasing expectations, Ty.
You're increasing expectations, but you're going to gin up the fan base a little bit. You're going to get people talking about spring ball. If it's a smaller school, you're going to get people talking about your program.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you beat State. Otherwise, you get fired. But history favors the bold, my friend.
I don't care about winning in spring, Ty. That's winning the internet, and that means nothing. So I'm going to say you manage those. You do Lou Holtz. Isn't that what like Lou Holtz would always do? Like, I don't know how we're going to win this game. Look at those guys. They're incredible. We'll be lucky if we stay within 14. So I would say, it's an overhauling process, and we're just taking baby steps. That's what I would do. I would manage expectations and buy myself as much time as humanly possible. Because again, I barely know these players at the time of spring.
Our new strength coach really paying dividends.
That's the big move. Put it on the strength coach and the strength staff. That's who gets to see the players all spring long.
Oh my God, there are so many cliched answers here. The strength coach paying dividends.
Put it on the strength coach.
The defensive coordinator with a new aggressive attacking mentality. So many things that you hear that are regurgitated throughout.
When will, and of course Ken Greeley wants to know, when will the 2018 Solid Verbal t-shirt be available?
Ooh.
It'll probably be the Solid Verbal shirt will probably be summer-ish before the season.
Yep. And for those that are wondering, we do have plans afoot to improve the ordering process.
Yes, we do.
We have some plans that we're working on here in March to make that better for you.
Ours was like a 3-step process these past couple years, and we're trying to make it a 1-stepper.
We're going to make it easier. I promise. Yeah. I promise you.
Yeah, but stay tuned because there's more on that front, perhaps sooner than that.
Absolutely.
I like this question a lot, and this is sort of football, sort of TV media, and then we can get to this giant question to finish it out. As a South Carolina fan, this comes to us from Bo. I ask you both to try to formulate a reasonable argument that this is somehow based in reality and not just off-season clickbait for diehards.
Okay.
And the attached image is from our pal Peter Burns, who is on the SEC network. He hosts a bunch of stuff on there. He's great, has been in this business for a long time. And his quote is Tom Luginbill.
Yeah, it's Tom Luginbill. Right?
It's secondhand, third hand. So it's Peter Burns quoting Tom Luginbill on South Carolina. Tom Luginbill, of course, of ESPN and I guess The Athletic. I've never, caps never, seen a Will Muschamp offense like this. No lie, you would have thought they were old school Oregon with their tempo.
Ooh.
So, is this the most late March tweet possible? Yes.
Yes.
So basically,
oh no.
And I think, Ty, you and I are in agreement. If South Carolina's offense is good, that's good.
Yeah.
That's fun for us. Great. That's more fun offense in college football at a place that hasn't necessarily been consistent offensively these past few years. And Will Muschamp teams have not necessarily been consistent on offense. But South Carolina is playing against whom in March?
They would be playing against themselves.
They would be, or air,
Yeah.
or oxygen, or sleds, or something like that. Also, playing fast does not necessarily mean playing well. Playing with tempo could also mean, well, they went 3 and out super quickly. They really picked up the pace to just punt real quickly. There are certain coaches that I give the benefit of the doubt offensively. Like, I am going to give Chad Morris and Scott Frost the benefit of the doubt that they are going to overhaul things on offense for their respective schools.
Will Muschamp, not so much in that category, Dan.
Not necessarily. Both Will Muschamp in terms of as a head coach and as somebody in charge of hiring and having a vision for the offense.
Right. Exactly.
There have been a lot of recent stories of like, Will Muschamp has changed. Again, we're rooting for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Tom Luginbill. I think he's fantastic on the sidelines. I think he always has something smart to say when he says something. This is an anecdote, and as you said, it is absolutely the most late March thing possible. Mm-hmm. To your point, playing fast does not mean you're playing well. Mm-hmm. South Carolina was improved offensively last year over the previous season. We can hope that they continue to improve. I just don't put a whole lot of stock in what you see at this stage in the game, because there are a lot of March national championships that come and go and don't translate to what we actually see in the fall.
I have heard, Ty, and this is secondhand, I have heard that South Carolina has been dominating the Manning Passing Academy. They have been lights out. If you thought any of the lights were on with us, the South Carolina offense, no, I hope so. But there's a lot that goes into playing successfully with tempo other than just playing quickly. And so we're rooting for it. But that is the most late March opinion possible. And we hope it comes to fruition. But will we reference this if South Carolina falters with their new tempo offense?
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's a good bet.
All right, so here's the way we're going to close this out, Dan.
Yes.
At the risk of this question becoming its own show, let me read off the question here, and then we will figure out a concise way to answer it and perhaps bounce it out to the Verballerhood at large.
Oh, my God.
Okay.
Loaded.
He says, "Good afternoon, gents. In October, I am planning my first trip to America. It'll be a solo jaunt. It's going to be very self-indulgent. I mean, I'll be on the search for lots of food, lots of sport, lots to see. I'm looking for advice, more than anything, from you fine folks about what I should do. To give you an idea of my journey, I am flying to LA, planning to hire a car, I love that, and drive around the country and end up in New York. I will then fly from
I really
New York.
hope he's hiring like a personal driver to escort.
That would be awesome, but hiring
Incredible.
a car is still an awesome way to phrase it.
I'm available, by the way.
Absolutely.
Let's do this, buddy.
I will then fly from New York to Vancouver, where I'll be spending time with my cousins before flying home to Australia.
Great.
All in all, I'm planning to be there for about a month. The only real place I want/have to visit is New Orleans.
Great call.
I'm a Saints and Pelicans fan, and I want to see them play there, not to mention experience the culture that is New Orleans. So with that in mind, one, what are the key college stadiums to try and get to see games of college football? Two, what is the best way to get cheap tickets? Is it still StubHub or SeatGeek? Three, what are the best states for certain food, barbecue, pizza, and random stuff? Just no seafood. I'm not a huge fan of it.
Okay.
I'll try it in New Orleans, but I'm not a fan of it normally. And four, what is your must-see, quintessential, totally American thing that I have to see and do? This, as we indicated, could be its own show.
Correct.
This is a question of coming to America. What do I do when I get here? Let's keep it college football here. What are the stadiums? If you're going to go and drive around the country, if you're going to go out of your way after you hire the car to go and see any one stadium, whether there's a game going on or not, what stadium would that be?
Well, if he's going to be in New Orleans, just shoot up to Baton Rouge and go to Death Valley. That's a no-brainer.
I agree.
I don't know what his exact timing will be, but it sounds like he's pretty flexible. I would go to LSU, and I would get in touch with the great people of And the Valley Shook, Podcat and Dan Davis and all those people. And it's with Jake Nazar. And eat as much Cajun food at a tailgate as possible. And hopefully it's for a big LSU game. I don't have the LSU schedule in front of me, but hopefully a big SEC night game. That'd be preferable. Otherwise, if he's starting in LA, I mean, go to USC game. I would say go to either, I mean, you go to UT. I think Texas A&M would probably be more fun and a different and a unique experience. Oklahoma would be really fun in Norman. Stillwater would give you a good experience of what it's like to go to a very small college-centric town. If you're going to be going through Oklahoma, I think Colorado, just in terms of seeing an awesome town and an awesome stadium and just geographically, because my recommendation would be to like hit as many of the national parks along the Southwest, Midwest. There's not a lot of Midwest national parks, but go to Utah, go to the Grand Canyon.
Go to the Grand Canyon. You got to go to the Grand Canyon.
I would say hit as many of the Purple Mountains majesty, the amber waves of grain that your path has to offer. Wegmans in Allentown obviously is just the center of culture as we know it in America. Best states for food, California and Texas to me are pretty unbeatable, but if you're going to New Orleans, then load up. If you don't like seafood, don't get seafood, but get, a roast beef po' boy, get fried chicken at Willie Mae's, Scotch House, go to Cochon Butcher for sandwiches. You can't go wrong in New Orleans. There's also, I would go to, Eater does a good job with city guides for food and eating, but if you need taco help in the Southwest, just get at us continually, and I will help you out. The West Coast is good for pizza, barbecue. You can do probably unbeatable in Texas to me. If you go to Austin, you'll have a great time eating barbecue and tacos and such. But I would say hit national parks.
National parks. So here's what we're
taking the beauty.
Here's what we're going to do, because there are a million answers to this question. Mm-hmm. What we're going to do is we're going to throw a challenge out there, because we have so many red-blooded Americans who listen to this program.
He's from Australia. I don't know if you mentioned that.
He is from Australia, yes.
Yeah.
Make Google Maps for us. Make Google Maps. Tweet them in at Solid Verbal. Mm-hmm. And Josh from Australia, check our Twitter account. Check to see what's coming in. Mm-hmm. We'll do our best to try and get those out to you, because my sense is there are a million different opinions here, and the best way to get it into some actionable format for you is to get it on a Google Map. So for anyone out there, make some Google Maps, send them on in, and we'll make sure Josh gets them. He can pick from his favorites.
And he's from Adelaide. I believe that's where Leighton Hewitt is from.
Okay.
Like the southern part of Australia. Yeah. These are fun facts, Ty. We're talking fun facts about America. Yeah, I'm trying to think anything else. Listen to a bunch of podcasts, obviously, as you drive. Stop off. If you see something pretty alongside the road, a view, a mountain, a waterfall or something, take a second. Life moves quickly, Ty. Slow down. That's what I would say.
I'm with you, brother. All right. One final note here.
Yes.
If Villanova wins the national championship, Mama H will win our basketball pool.
The Solid Verbal one?
The Solid Verbal one with hundreds of entries.
I think Jody with an I has murdered both me and my parents.
Literally, or in the context of the pool?
In the context of the pool, I'm looking right now. Who's at the top?
At the top, I think we've got our old friend Pete.
So right now, okay, Jody with an I has Michigan, as does Mama Rubenstein. I am in the 13th percentile. Arizona was my national champ. Jody with an I has Michigan. I'm going to be in Chicago for the Final Four game with Michigan playing Loyola of Chicago.
Uh-oh.
So that's going to be a total mess. I'm excited.
All right. Well, Mama H wins if Villanova wins, which would be a triumph unlike any other here on the podcast.
How do people feel about Villanova in Pennsylvania? Is it sort of like a pretty boy thing?
It is, yeah.
Okay. And it's not technically in Philly. It's just outside of Philly.
It's in Ardmore, yeah.
Okay.
Beautiful campus. Okay. I've been there countless times.
You know anybody that went there?
Tons of people that went to Villanova.
Okay.
All the people I know are very, very nice, but it does have a bit of a stigma.
Yeah, so I want to say Dr. Jane's husband went to Villanova. I believe that's true. That's, I think, my only connection.
All right. Well, thank you again for writing in.
Okay.
For asking your questions. We've got 13 pages of questions here, and we couldn't get to nearly all of them. We're going to do our best to try and do and at least one of these shows every so often, once a month, what have you.
Maybe more, Ty.
Yeah, just to try and address what's going on out there in the world. Again, we're at solidverbal.com. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit. Also, email us at solidverbal@gmail.com. A lot more to come here in the off season for the Solid Verbal. A lot of exciting things in the works. So we would encourage everyone, if you're a longtime listener or if you're just finding us for the first time, do stay tuned. We got a lot of cool things planned and we're excited about the months and weeks ahead.
Yes. And to close things out, Ty, just because he's asked this question twice, and I think it comes from a good place. Travis asks if Benny Snell is the best college football running back. I don't believe that's true.
Mach Schnell.
Great games. Tennessee, Ole Miss. Last year, he was ejected in the Music City Bowl, but Bryce Love and Jonathan Taylor tailback and Harris Ranch over at Alabama and J.K. Dobbins, Myles Gaskin all exist. So he's in that group. He's in the, maybe not the A tier, but I think he is in of college footballs. If you're talking about a good year of college football running backs, you have to include Benny Snell in that conversation. How about that?
That sounds like a good way to close out the show, Dan.
Done.
For that guy over there, Dan Rubenstein in New York City. For myself, Ty Hildenbrand over here in Eastern Pennsylvania. Thanks again for tuning into the show. Catch you all in a week. Stay solid.
Peace.
Today's show, again, was brought to you by our good friends over at Proper Cloth, the leader in men's custom shirts. Need a new shirt for any of your holiday festivities? Go to propercloth.com, where ordering a custom shirt has never been easier. Create a custom shirt by answering 10 easy questions. They all start at $80. They're delivered in just 2 weeks. For premium quality, perfect fitting shirts, visit propercloth.com and use the gift code SOLID, SOLID, to get $20 off your first custom shirt today.